Hello, and welcome everyone to this week's episode of the podcast. This week we have the rather scary title that it is 15 weeks until Christmas, which is both exciting and terrifying, I think, in equal measure. But for many jewelers, the final quarter of the year, which we're in now, is the most profitable because people are buying in the run up to the Christmas sort of sales season. They're buying presents, they're buying things for themselves. And also, it's not just Christmas. There's kind of, the winter months are coming in and people are looking more to different fashion and different styles. So there's lots of reasons why this final quarter is really crucial for jewelers. And so a lot of us have been building up to this. And so we want to make the most of it. And we also want to make sure that we're not too overwhelmed as we go through the Christmas sales season, that we feel good and we feel like we know what we're doing. We have a plan, we have a strategy, and we're able to best serve our business and our customers and grow things ready for the next year. So we are here to help with this, and I am joined today by the wonderful Anna Campbell. Welcome, Anna.
Hello. Yes, this is such an exciting time for jewelers, but it's also an important time to just get on it. So I think this is why this podcast has come at just the right moment. There's lots to do. There's time to do it, but there's lots to do. So yeah, I think this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's crucial if we start now, then it doesn't have to be too overwhelming. If we start doing Christmas stuff in the middle of October, that's pretty rushed. It's going to be very stressful. And ideally, we start our Christmas preparations even earlier. And some of you I know have been preparing your collections, what you're going to be selling. But even if you've done absolutely nothing and not even thought about the C word until now, this is a really good place to start. And what we are offering to help support with this in the community is this podcast. Obviously, we'll talk about some things, but also we're going to be sharing tips each week over on our Instagram page at Jewelers Academy. We've done one so far. There's another one coming up. We might have done two by the time this episode is out. So every week from now until Christmas, I'll be sharing a business tip. That is something you can do that week to help you in the run up to the Christmas sales season. So we're just taking it one week at a time. And of course, we're all at different stages. For some of you, it will be your first Christmas ever, which is really exciting, kind of learning the ropes and what's going to be working for your business. For others of you, you've been doing this for a number of years now, so you kind of know what to expect, but you don't have to do it alone. We want to do it with you together as a community. And we'd love you to come and join us over on Instagram and check out the tips. They're out mostly on Fridays or towards the end of the week. And there is a hashtag. It's not the most catchy hashtag, but it does what it says on the tin. It's the hashtag JA Christmas Business Tips. So if you have any tips that you would like to share with other jewelers, you can obviously share them under that hashtag, but you can also find our tips under there as well and on our Instagram page. So do make sure that you're checking regularly and come comment, come and share with other jewelers, because it's really nice to find other people that are a similar stage of their journey to you and to just cheer each other along as we go through this last sort of quarter of the year. So today we're going to be sharing about some of the things that we need to be looking at as jewelers from now until Christmas. We won't cover absolutely all of them because we'll be sharing more in our other content, but just sort of getting a start on it. So there's lots of things, aren't there, Anna? Do you want to kick us off with one of the things? I know we've mentioned lots and I'll come and share as well, that jewelers might need to think about now that will help them as they go through the Christmas period.
Yeah, like you said, there's many different things, but I think one of the things that we need to be considering is, of course, our stock. What are we selling? What is it that we've already got? It depends on the type of business that you are, because if you work very much on commission, this is your time to be getting out there and telling people about that and giving them deadlines as to how long that will be. But if you have pieces that you have already made that are available for people to buy, it'd be about just going and doing a bit of an inventory, checking what you've got, doing a bit of a polish, and maybe, just spending a little bit of time looking at what you've got, what do you need to fill in, like what do you need to make to kind of just fill in at this time. because many of us have got stock, and it really now is not so much the time to be making; it's more the time to sell that to sell that stock. Do
Yeah.
you agree with that, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we can make as jewelers is to think that October and November are big making months. And of course, it does depend a bit on your business, but ideally, October and November are marketing months. So you've made as much of your jewelry as possible pre-order, pre-made in the run up to Christmas, particularly giftable items. I think for most jewelers, there's two sorts of main brackets of what they sell this time of year. Your normal collections or your normal pieces, which might be more expensive, might be more one of a kind, and the kind of things that we ideally want people to buy from us in the long run. So they may be your fine pieces or pieces that you've spent a good amount of time on, and therefore they are going to warrant a higher price bracket. But also, it's good to think about giftable items. So what is an amount that somebody might be able to afford as a gift for someone, whether it's sort of something that can be ordered for under £100, which is going to be quick and easy for you to make. It's not going to take a lot of your time, but it might just be a really stripped back version of your collection. So let's say you do botanical jewelry and you've got really intricate botanical work that takes you days and days to make with stone settings and all sorts of things, but you might make a leaf charm or a pair of simple leaf earrings with no stone setting that is a really simple stripped back version, and that's a really giftable item. So I often find that people are buying either the really exciting one-off pieces for themselves or for someone really special in their life, but we're also all looking for those little items that we can give to an auntie or a grandma or someone who perhaps we're not spending thousands on, but we want to give them a nice little treat, and it's still a part of your story and your collection, and they love your work, so they want to get it from you. So I think you're right, Anna, thinking about what is your offering and why would someone buy from you this Christmas? So what's the kind of customer? What might their story be? Are they buying from you because they love kind of gothic jewelry and that's the style that you do and it's one of a kind pieces and they've been desperate to buy a piece of yours for years, but now they're finally ready and it's their gift to themselves? Or have they asked all their family to save up to buy a piece of jewelry? Or is it a kind of not thought about a lot purchase where it's like, I just want some star earrings and I want them handmade. Where can I get them from? So having some thought behind who your customer is, why they've come to you, and why your jewelry is going to be the perfect solution. And I think once you can package that, even just in your own mind, how that works, why is someone coming to me? What's different about me? And this kind of comes a bit back to the USP idea is like, is my jewelry, what's its identity? Is it really shiny and bright and sparkly? And is it going to attract the magpies? Or is it all about nature and really earthy, kind of grounding types of people? Or is it about the ocean and it's going to be, that's the story behind it? So we're really starting to niche down in what our jewelry is and who we're targeting. So it's not for everyone, but it's perfect for the people who are looking to find it. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's that's the jewelry. I don't know if you had anything else to share on that, Anna.
Well, no, the other sort of thing I was thinking about in terms of the customer, particularly for us with handmade jewelry, you know, it is around being able to tell more of your story. I mean, we say to do this all year round, and it is important all year round, but there are certainly people who are not wanting to buy into the commercial things and getting gifts 3 for 2 and all of that kind of gift sets and stuff. They actually want to buy something that has more thought behind it, that is supporting a local artist, that has something more about it. So I think it is around that, but also around sharing who, like you mentioned before, but sharing who you are and how somebody could support you as well. And I think that's a good message to be putting out there around this as well.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings us on to the marketing side of things, which is huge in the run up to Christmas. So, looking at your social media marketing, looking at your email marketing, perhaps depending on how far along you are in this journey, doing some blogging, doing some videos. And we always say to keep it simple. So, one social platform, one place where I can come and buy from you online. So, you're not sending me to 4 different shops that I've got to scroll through 4 different things, but it's like one place. This is where I buy everything from. And definitely making sure that we are, if we haven't already started, getting going on the email marketing wagon as well. So that's a whole nother area which we are going to be walking through gently, through the business tips on Instagram, just sharing, okay, this week let's look at this, let's look at list building this week, or the next week let's look at sending out some promotional emails, the week after let's look at how we're going to be working on our Instagram. So we will have more time there to kind of go through all the different sections. But I think it's great to start getting your head around what's your marketing going to look like. And most importantly, how are you going to make time for it? Because it shouldn't be the last thing after you've made all the things to then look at the marketing. I would really encourage people to gently warm up their socials and start doing an email or two in September. Then October is really time to go for it. I would say sort of mid-October to the end of November is the peak marketing time. Those 6 weeks are going to be essential. And you can have a rest afterwards, because I know that it can be quite draining if you're not used to doing this kind of stuff. But starting from now, creating content, even if you're not sharing it yet, if you're making pieces, film yourself from a few different angles, film yourself at the bench, film your hands, film some close-ups if you can with your phone or camera. So you're just starting creating that content, so that when it comes to that real marketing burst in the middle, you've got this stuff. And of course, photography is really helpful as well. So making sure we're looking at our photography. The tip last week was on photography, and I showed a really simple setup that you can easily do with natural daylight and your smartphone to kind of get going with taking nice pictures and getting some nice bits of content, because that is so important for the run up to the Christmas sale season. So yeah, I'm excited to get into all those bits with you guys and talk about them in a bit more detail. And I think what's nice about, we've never done it this before, like walking through each week together, is that we can have a key focus each week. And I share the reel on the Friday, so the following week you can have the weekend to think about it, or if you work on the weekend you can do it then. The following week you can kind of get into it, and it's all very manageable stuff, and it's probably stuff that you have on your list anyway, but it's just reminding and sort of giving a bit of direction so that we can keep that focus as we go through a busy time where our focus can often be pulled in lots of different directions. So, yeah, so definitely sharing our story is going to be a really key part of that. And I think that's going to be through our emails, through our social media, potentially blogging, but also in person events, and galleries and things. So, some other things that we're going to be covering and looking at in the run up to the Christmas sales season is, if you are stocked in shops and galleries, making sure you check in with them, and making sure that you're supporting them through that time as well. Do they need any additional display material? Do they need any extra stock? If you can, going into the shop or gallery and just looking at what the display looks like and offering to help with it, if you have that kind of relationship with the seller. So it's a busy time, hopefully, for them. So it's a good way for you to be involved, remembering that it's a partnership. And if they do well, you do well, and vice versa. So doing what you can to sort of get involved with that, rather than just sending them stuff and then that's it. It can be helpful to have that more collaborative approach, maybe even offering to create some social content for them. Anything that we can do to help is super helpful. Yeah, any thoughts on those bits, Anna?
Yeah, I was thinking that it's so nice to share social content. I think it's a win-win, because you get to share, that you're being stocked in this particular shop, and that gives you some kind of kudos with that. But it is also about like promoting the shop as well. So, and that was always going to be a good thing, because for any business. So I think it is a really good idea. It's such a great win-win, and having that opportunity, as you said, to pop in if you can, and see how it's all looking, see, see if there's anything else, or maybe there are other people selling in there. You might get some ideas of other things that might fit really well, maybe not for Christmas, but just in the future. So, I think it's all about that kind of relationship building, and I think that can be a really helpful thing to do.
Absolutely. And shops and galleries tend to plan their Christmas quite far in advance. So if you are planning on approaching any, I would say probably September is the last time that I would before Christmas, because by October, they're really going to be focusing on those kind of areas. I mean, it does vary from shop to shop, but I certainly wouldn't be going approaching a new shop in November, because they're going to be like, look, we've got our Christmas stock, we're busy, leave us alone, kind of thing. So it's also a little bit about timing. And I think these flows, if you like, we learn as we develop our businesses. Really, it's sort of June, July time that they're often looking at stock for Christmas, depending on how big the shop is. Smaller boutiques might also be looking around this time of year, but the window is closing on that for sure. And the other thing is that we will need to look at is in-person events. And again, if you're going to do a Christmas event, you probably will have signed up to it already. If not, you might get in on like a cancellation or something last minute. But generally speaking, they start from sort of January, almost a year in advance, getting people into the fairs and events. So those of you that are doing fairs and events, it's a brilliant way to connect with your customers in person. And we'll just be looking at things like making sure we've got our displays ready, looking at the visual merchandising side of things, and how we can take all the right things with us to make sure we have the most successful Christmas fairs and things as we can. And you guys are so great as a community, because whenever I post about these kind of things, I ask, what do you do? How do you do it? Because it's not just about me sharing. That's just the starting point. But I love it when you come and share, because you all help each other, and we all have different experiences and different things that worked. Like, just simple things like make sure you take a mirror, check that your card reader's working before you go, test it out, make sure you've got lots of snacks and you're warm enough and you've got layers. And if you can, bring someone along so that you can be relieved for some of the time if you need to pop off, or at least make friends with the store holders around you so that you can go to the toilet and they can cover you for a minute. So all these little things which are easy when you know how, but when it's your first time round, it can feel a little bit daunting, to say the least. So yeah, lots of things. Photography we've talked about. We're also touching on pricing. So the first tip that I shared was around pricing, actually, which you can go and check out. And it was essentially saying that we need to check our prices before we enter into this final quarter. And I do recommend checking your prices every 6 months. So usually sort of January, February time, and then August, September time is a good point, because it's before and after the Christmas sales season. And particularly the prices of gold and silver have gone up astronomically in the past year, around 40% for both of a price increase, which isn't a bad thing. It's just a change. There's some good things about that, which is that showing that jewelry is a great investment, that it keeps going up. So if people are buying something, if they're going to spend money on something, this is a really good thing to spend it on. Also, you can encourage people, if they've got jewelry at home, particularly with gold, and if this is a service that you can offer, you can melt down their gold and you can repurpose it. So there's lots of different ways to have a good conversation with customers about this price increase without it being a negative thing necessarily. But we do need to make sure that we're pricing for profit, because if you sell 100 pieces across the Christmas sales season and you haven't increased your prices, you could potentially be making a loss while selling a lot of pieces, which we really don't want. So yeah, lots of things. And also, Anna, maybe you could chat a bit about some of the events that are coming up in the marketing world, in terms of Black Friday, Small Business Saturdays, those kind of things, and how we might want to think about those in advance.
Yes, I think we're all well aware of sort of some of those things that are coming up, but they have become super important. I think even for us as handmade businesses, Christmas we obviously know is a very important one for us, but also Black Friday over the last few years has become important. And it is not to say that we think that you should discount or do anything like that, because we'd definitely say no to that. But it is a time where people are buying. If people are actively looking, it's become a bit of a time for some people to start their Christmas shopping. So it's a time where people are wanting to buy, and some people are going to go out and try and get bargains and things like that. But I think a lot of people just are also, so they may want the bargains too, but they're also looking to support local makers, to support handmade. There's a big there's a big push and a big movement around that. And so that's why I think it's even more important to be sharing around those times and not pulling back at those times, because people have got money to spend, and they're waiting to do it. And I think if you can have that messaging around, it's such a win-win, because they're supporting you and they're getting an amazing handmade gift for somebody. So it's around your messaging, I think. I think with all of it, with Christmas, with your last postage dates, I think that's important to be, to go in and check what those might be. With Black Friday, it's mapping those dates out in your calendar and then almost starting to work backwards from there. It's like, right, okay, what do I need to communicate? When do I need to start communicating this? How can I do that in and amongst everything else? And as always, it's all about repetition. Just because you've said something doesn't mean that everyone has heard it. We need to be saying the same things in different ways, yes, but the same things over and over again. And it's not boring. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, but it's so boring, and oh, I'm boring everybody. Honestly, people are not seeing everything that you're putting out there. They're just seeing a small percentage of what you're putting out. So that's why that repetition is so important. But having those dates in mind, and just, I think, just being more strategic around what am I sharing, when am I sharing, rather than like, "Oh, what am I going to share today?" This is what I love about this Christmas challenge, that I suppose we could call it, because it's going to really help you focus on just one thing each week.
Absolutely, yes. And I think you're right about the repetition, and it's finding different ways to talk about the same thing, isn't it? That's often what marketing is we've said, here's my jewelry, this is how much it costs, go for it. But then we need to say it again and again and again. And it's how to find creative, different ways to do that. And I think in a way, Instagram can be helpful because there's different formats. You've got your reels, you've got your carousels, you've got your individual posts. I would encourage lots of carousels and lots of reels, because they seem to be working really well at the moment. And then it's a mixture of different content as well in terms of direct sales. So definitely asking for the sale. Don't be afraid to say, this is what I have available this Christmas. Real obvious posts. They might not do as well, but people will see them and they will look at them, and it all sorts of goes in, and they've got to process it and think, do I want this? Do I want that? It's all part of their customer journey in making the decision to purchase from you. But then we've talked about the storytelling content, which is much more around, from my first piece to where I am now, these kind of journeys, or perhaps sharing customer journeys as well. So and so bought a piece, and this was her transformation as a result of it. Sharing what's unique about you and your business, and sharing a bit of your personality. And it might not be that any of these posts or emails or anything go crazily viral or have this wild, crazy effect on your life, but it's all just chipping away at the big job of marketing your business throughout the Christmas sales season. So yeah, I'm excited we get to do it together. I'm excited that we get to do it a little bit at a time. And of course, you'll have your own timeline and your own way of doing things, but I'll just be there each week to be like, have you thought about this? Have you checked this? And it might not cover absolutely everything because it's just a short reel, but it's a really good starting point, a reminder. So yeah, it's going to be a nice way for us as a community to kind of talk about the Christmas sale season together. So I think that's probably enough for today. But yeah, Anna, thank you so much for coming and sharing alongside me. And we look forward to seeing you guys over on Instagram to kind of carry on the conversation. And most importantly, in the run up to Christmas, we just wish you every success. And wherever you're at, and whatever your goals are, you can definitely move forwards and progress. And I think having a good mindset about it really helps as well. And just giving it not your all, because you want to keep some for yourself, but just giving it a good try and going for it, and knowing that that's enough will make a huge difference to the growth of your jewelry business. So exciting times. So yeah, thanks again, Anna. Thanks everyone for listening, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode of the podcast. And until then, bye for now.